Alright everyone, welcome to my science lab, and I am currently in my bathroom, but I have something special I want to show you. I'll quickly shut the door, and I have made a first video about this, but somehow the USB that I stored it on, somehow it was lost, and so I lost that video about me growing this crystal, but I have used this salt of copper sulfate, which I'll set here. I might need it, but I don't think so. And I'll bring out this solution. In the solution is dissolved copper sulfate, and I'll briefly take the GoPro out of its stand. You might be able to see a crystal in there. I don't think you can't. I think you can't, but I think you can see it sliding around there. See, like that little blue shape? I'll be trying to recover it. So, now, get it back on its stand. There you go. I had to stuff some tissue paper under the stand because the GoPro doesn't fit in my tripod. So, grab some tissue paper, but whatever. Today, because the bottom is a bit uneven, if you ask me, I have decided to try hanging it from a string. So I have brought myself a bunch of thread, and I'll pick the one that matches the shade of copper sulfate the best. So let me quickly pull this out, and in my opinion, I think this one looks like the proper shade, so I'll be setting that to the side right there, and I have a pair of scissors right there. So I cut it, and you may have noticed that there is some debris on the bottom of the beaker. So I'll be filtering it out with the filter and the funnel. Dang. So I'll be grabbing a plastic cup because my flask is currently used in another experiment. But as you can see, there's some of that gunk in there, some yellowish floating stuff. That reminds me of precipitated iron sulfate because might be able to see a little staple in there. Quickly remove it with the scissors, and I'll throw it into my smallest beaker, which I use for the copper sulfate that is contaminated with iron sulfate, and some copper sulfate that isn't dissolved at the bottom. So I'll pour off this solution into this container. Try getting as much gunk in as possible. I'll set that aside and take a look at that beautiful crystal down there. I don't want my fingernails and my hand turning blue because of copper sulfate. So I'll put on some gloves. These gloves are a bit yellow from iron sulfate, but I think they'll do because I'm kind of lazy to fetch another pair. There we go. Let me just stick this back in the stand. So I'll grab this out. Remember, if you're doing this at home, don't rinse it with water because this thing will start dissolving again, and you don't want that. Last time when I had unsaturated copper sulfate, this thing started to dissolve again, so I had to take it out and make sure it's saturated. If you don't know, which I expect you to know, but it's okay if you don't, but saturated means that when a solution is so contaminated with whatever you're dissolving in it, that it's stop dissolving. So if you don't get what I mean, say you dissolved, I don't know, like a cup of salt in some water. Eventually, you'll get a time when the water has so much salt in it that you can't absorb some more. You either have to add more water or heat it up. So, I'm going to, oh dang, the camera turned off again. My apologies. But, can you see some stuff down there? Let me try to rinse it. There we go. So, now it's completely clean of that gunky stuff. I'm going to take some toilet paper. Sorry, I don't have paper towel, but I'm going to get it dry because I don't want this solution to be unsaturated again. So I'm just going to quickly give it a drying job, and then there we go, dry. So I'm going to be putting this funnel inside. Well, might be a bit too big, but whatever. Okay, let me try to get a good angle that the camera can see what I'm doing there. So, okay, now I think you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take the filter paper and I'm going to open it up. Just wait, it's a bit hard to open with gloves. So, all right, okay, all right, I've opened it up. I'm going to stuff that inside, and I will pour it in the solution slowly. You don't want to get like the part that's above the funnel soaked with copper sulfate, because you'll start spilling it, and you don't want to spill this stuff, because if your pet licks it, or a younger sibling who's unexperienced with it licks it, they'll have to go straight to the doctor, because this stuff is quite bad for humans. Nasty stuff. So I'm going to let that drain, but first let me see if I can find like a rod, because I need a rod to suspend like the threads on, because man, let's take a look at admiring this crystal. It's like this like just around the size of the tip of my thumb, but let me set the crystal right there so I make sure I don't lose it, because that is 2 months of work, everybody. So if you'll excuse me, I'll grab a pencil while you guys are watching it filter through. I'll be right back. All right, everyone, I'm back. So I'm back. Now that I'm back, I have a little wooden pencil. Mechanical pencils work too, but I prefer the wooden ones. Let me fill this back up with water, and I'll set this back in the cupboard. So let it finish filtering to get rid of the rest of that iron sulfide precipitant. And let's take out. Here, I'll take off my gloves for this, because it's a bit hard to handle thread when you have gloves on. So let me just try to open it up. All right, there you go. So let's say we would like this much. So because I need 2 threads to keep my crystal from falling to the bottom, which is not my idea to do, I'm going to cut it right here. So I'm going to just cut. There we go. So now that I have something that looks like this, 2 threads. But as you can see, this one's connected, and I don't want that. So I'm going to stick my pair of scissors inside, and then I'm going to pull hard and snip, snip. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to separate these 2, just like that, and then I'll take my crystal, which I've done here. The texture is really satisfying to feel, everyone. And as you can see some unevenness growing at the bottom there. So I'll do my best trying to tie these strings on, because they're a bit obnoxious sometimes. Don't want to stay on. So I'm going to take my time while the solution filters off. And keep in mind, everybody, when you're doing this, you need to filter at least once a week. So I'm not using a professional filter paper, but I'm using the commercial type, like the coffee filters. So, oh my goodness, this thing is obnoxious to cut. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that moment of silence, but I'm trying to concentrate on tying this around, because this thing seems very stubborn to actually tie itself on. So there we go. That's one loop. And then I'll go and tie on another one. All right, so it's not very secure. As you can see, you can still slide around there, but this ought to be good enough. All right. Be careful you don't let this thing fall to the ground, because if it does, you'll have to redo your whole experiment, and I'm sure you don't have the patience to do it. I'm planning to let this thing grow for a further 2 months or so, say. So I'm trying to get it like really big. Okay. So for those of you who don't understand what's going on here, this crystal, which is called the seed crystal, is actually the crystal that is responsible to make the big growth. So the small crystals form because as water evaporates, it doesn't have enough space to hold what's in the water. So it'll precipitate or be left out as a solid at the bottom. So I'm having because the crystal's already a surface for it to grow on, then it can actually have more molecules grow onto it, making it bigger. So now that this filtration is almost finished, I'm just giving it a squeeze. Any remaining solution drip through, and set the filter paper aside because I won't be needing that anymore. And set the filter in the sink, which will give it a good wash. Now that seems more cleaner, don't you think? So I'm gonna take off my gloves again, and I'm gonna go grab some tape. So mind you, for the moment of silence again, I'll be right back. Alright everyone, I'm back. So I've grabbed myself a roll of tape, and I'm going to actually have to end up tying some more there. I'm going to tie a second loop just in case it doesn't fall straight into the solution, because I don't want to fall, because it is a bit annoying, to be honest with you guys. So I've tied my first loop on the second string, and it's time for my second, which is by far going to be the worst. So I hope you guys are going to be patient, and for those of you who have been here since the beginning of my channel in 2018, I have the most recent video I posted, my last one, to be honest. I actually caught a little bug in it, like a mistake. So sorry to say, but the model of copper sulfate I made there was actually incorrect. So I've left that in the description below, so you guys can know my mistake. And the molecule I made was not the right one. It's actually I forgot what it was, but I'll check it and put it in the description of this video. So blends in well nicely, don't you think? So I'm going to put the two strings together. Grab a small piece of tape, that much, like 1 inch long piece. And now I'm going to put the two strings together, just like that. And then I'm going to tape the string on the pencil so it doesn't fall. There you go. Something like that. Well, people would recommend using fishing line, but I don't have any, so I go with blue string. You know why I did this? Because when the solution is all the way up here, I can just twirl it up and then it goes up, just like that. And when the solution's lower, I can just rotate it and then it goes down. So Quite smart. I know. All right. So let me center the strings again. And I think he'll be ready to go back into solution now. So I'm going to separate out the two threads on the crystal. Actually, there we go. Okay. All right. So I hope you guys learn how to grow these crystals. My friends, to be honest, were quite impressed with this crystal. So yeah, pretty fun thing to do if you're bored. But all right, finally got these two separated. So now, before you put it into solution, it should look something like this. Two strings. So make sure they're even and make sure they don't come off. Because if they do, you won't be too happy with your work. So let me pull that up, pull the knots up to the tip of the crystal. Sorry for the moment of silence, but it's ready. Now that it's lowered into solution, I'll take this piece of toilet paper, like that, and I'll cover it so that no debris, dust, dead flies will come in. So, hope you guys all enjoyed. I'll see you next time.